Hello, so I'm going to demonstrate a new instrument I've been working on for you. I had the idea for this recently when I was in Toronto. I was looking at guitar-like instruments. In other words, instruments where you had, in essence, a string that was offset by 5 notes per, like a guitar, so that you could do kind of chord-like structures with your hands, read tablature, and also pick out guitar-like tunes. So this is kind of the inverse of what I've been doing with the chitar, where it plays guitar-like stuff. Where you play when you play one note, it plays a guitar-like chord. This is more like you have a larger structure in which to play guitar-like notes. So there's two key bits here. First of all, I needed something that had more than 5 in a grid. I looked at a smaller unit called the Rolly Blocks Light Pad, I think it is. But it was kind of expensive and really didn't have the kind of tactile feel I wanted. And this, I managed to pick up a first generation Launchpad, which has 8x8, well actually 9, because these are notes by default, 8x9 for €60 or something like that. Amazing. So what I need to do is 2 things. First of all, you can hear the notes very high to very low. So the thing is that with the guitar, if you think of this like I'm strumming down on a guitar, I want low to high. So I need to remap those notes. And then you can also see there's absolutely no lights, no UI, no anything. It's kind of boring. So I did 2 things. One, I fixed the UI, and I'll show you that real quick. And what's really funny is the Launchpad, you paint it by sending it in MIDI notes. So you can actually hook up a keyboard to the Launchpad and have the notes kind of visualized, or whatever you want visualized here, which I find really neat. It's a neat way to do it. So what I've done is written something that when it makes a connection to the Launchpad or any MIDI instrument, it sends it the notes that should paint the UI. And what you're going to hear when I reload is it's sending all those notes directly to my synthesizer, which will be kind of a black MIDI effect. Anyway, here we go. Ready? Anyway, I actually like that as a kind of hidden feature. So when I change the output, what you'll see is, boom, the lights light up. And it also uses the Launchpad as its input so that it can decide to update the UI when I hit a note. So for example, what I've chosen to do, since there's a limited range of color on the first generation, it has 2 LEDs, and you have to use a combination of red and green to make all the colors. So you have basically yellows, reds, and greens, and slight variations, but they're really difficult to distinguish from each other. So I had so few colors, I decided, okay, the lack of color is actually my active. So when I press, you can see the light goes out. And then what I do is redraw that when I let up. You can still hear the notes are wrong. I need to turn on the other router. So here we go. I'm going to turn on that magic. And I need to turn off the bit that was actually relaying the notes. Just a second. Let's see. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Great. Okay. So now it's low to high. And not only is it low to high, but actually the Launchpad's range was kind of wacky. It would do 9 notes, skip 5, and keep going. So it had an incredible range, high to low. But there were notes you couldn't play. And then what I wanted was a much more compressed range where you have 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then the 6th note is actually the first note on the next string. And that's the way it works on the guitar. That's the way I wanted it to work on this. And that's how it does work, which means a smaller range, but actually not that much smaller, because I actually chose to extend the tuning to an additional 2 strings, which a guitar doesn't have. So if you count those, I'm actually really close to the range of a guitar. Anyway, so I'll demonstrate to you kind of the differences in playing this thing. So first of all, this is actually what would be the open tuning on a string. So usually it'd be with your right hand strumming, and if you're not holding anything, the open tuning would be the note. Well, because we're working here with whatever you touch is played, the fret in essence is what you touch to play. So this first column is the open tuning. So E for example, high E, for example, A, for example. So when you read the tablature, you have to kind of shift it up one. And the other thing is, obviously, I can play multiple notes on one string. Not really something you can do on a guitar exactly. So I've thought of making it so that only one per string is allowed, so that, for example, you could just kind of bar notes, for example, and do things, guitar-like things with it. But right now it works more like a piano. But you can see I can work my way from a piano-like chord, and then because I know that this is that, I can go, okay, now I need to move this one. I can go, I can make a chord out of 3 of the strings, and then I kind of need to fill in other bits. So I need one more, and I guess that's a weird chord, but the thing is, I'm not going to construct chords that way. What I'm really doing is just looking at a book like, for example, this Johnny Cash songbook, which is not great, but does have chord in tablature form. So I'm going to look, for example, at a, let's do a complex one, a B flat. So they have the first string open, they have first fret barred across, which we don't really need to do, and then they have third fret. So we're going to want to shift that down a little bit, and it's going to look like, yeah, I think it looks like that. So we're not playing this one, we're doing, anyway, we could play this one. We can kind of cheat because we got that. But that's just me reading basically guitar tablature. So we've got another one, which is a D, which is, sorry, just check. Oh, first 2 strings not played. So third string here open, and then second, third, second. So that would actually be third. So oh, wait a minute. Let me double check that. Skipping the first 2. So third, there, okay. Got it. That's what they're suggesting. And you can hear that I'm kind of rolling from high to low. And I'm going to have to give some thought to how to make that more strum-like. One thought would be to have the strings keep playing until you play something else, or hit like a stop, like these buttons aren't notes. I could use one of those as a kind of a hand on the strings kind of gesture. But I'll figure out how to make it so that you can strum in a more natural way. But thus far I'm pretty pleased with it, because I can actually just kind of noodle around. And what you're hearing is actually the JV1010, which is a synthesizer, one of the first ones that I bought. And it has a country expansion board that I got last Christmas. That is a bunch of session musicians in the 90s recording themselves playing. And it's a sound that's kind of scaled to whatever pitch you're at. So it's a recording of an actual instrument. And I look forward to trying this with the range of the instruments that are on here, and also perhaps with maybe tuning it, making similar tunings for, say, a mandolin or a banjo. But for now, I'm pretty pleased. This was basically half a day and then an hour today, kind of refining it a little based on feedback from a friend. But I'm already having fun with it, and I hope you enjoy the video.